Hey everybody, Michael Sherlock here with Shock Your Potential. I thought today I'd put like not only my name across the bottom, but the name of the business just so that, nobody forgets that we're talking about Shock Your Potential. So happy Friday. You're probably going, why, Michael, are you so happy today? Well, if you follow my morning motivation, you know that earlier this week I hit one of those walls where you went, you know, and I said, I'm going to restructure my day on Friday because today I only had two things on the agenda, this right now and a podcast taping at 3 o'clock. And other than that, I slept in slightly, 20 minutes, went for a run, feeling good, living life. And I'm just going to enjoy the day. I'm stopping to take some breaks and going to really just, take care of me. So that's an important thing. But what are we talking about today? So I had 3 people this week talk to me about variations of this question. How do I reinvent myself, or can I even reinvent myself right now? And, meaning in particular, COVID, like, is this the time to reinvent yourself? And I thought it was such a great question because it came from 3 people in 3 different venues. And the one that really, tickled me was my publisher, Kate Colbert in Silvertree Publishing, Silvertree Communications Publishing, everything. She's got total world domination. Said, she was congratulating me on, she said, I know you've really pivoted with your business this year. And then she said, I hate the word pivot. It just seems like it has all this negative connotation. And I've had other people say, I hate the word pivot. But here's the thing. I don't mind the word pivot at all. When I was much, much younger, I used to dance. I did ballet and tap and, I did jazz dance. And just in case you wanted to know, I was Miss Drill Team Washington in 1985. Yes, I realize that is after or way before some of you were even born. That's how old I am. I won't tell you how old I was then. That's my claim to fame. It's very exciting. Anyway, regardless of that, when I was dancing, the idea of pivoting was knowing that you always kept your balance, and so that you could move and do a lot of other dance moves, but still keep your core. And so I feel like over the last few months, I'm constantly pivoting because I'm checking my balance. Where am I? And how solid am I? And what other changes can I make? What other leaps can I make? So I'm a firm believer you can and should actually reinvent yourself all the time. And especially right now, I think this is a critical opportunity to see what you're worth. So let's talk about this a little bit. Like, how do you go about it? How do you reinvent yourself? So let me just give you my example here. So many of you have heard me say before that when before COVID, 95% of my business income came from me getting on an airplane to travel somewhere in the world to train organizations, companies, individuals, you name it. And so obviously, the plane stopped flying. That changed everything. And when I look back and I say, gosh, Michael, how did you get yourself to the point where 95% of your income in your business was dependent on being able to fly? Now, that's not very smart. So I had to decide, how I'm going to pivot, where am I going to pivot, how am I going to reinvent myself in this company and give it new life. And so we have building up the YouTube channel. I'll talk about that a little bit. Creating and releasing our Shock Your Potential app for on-demand training, so that if I don't have to, I think I just spit. Sorry about that. You guys get me real. So that if I can't ever get on an airplane again, at least I can still train and teach people and engage with them. So it's this sense of, what are you capable of? What's that opportunity? So when somebody asked me specifically, she said, this is a gal who's lost her job. She's having a real difficult time getting a new job. She thinks she's going to have to look outside her industry, which I totally agree with for her. And I think she's going to do great. But, the question was, how do I go about it? So I gave her basically 3 starting points. And the first one was this: before you can reinvent yourself or pivot or change or be open to something new, you have to create the right mental headspace. And you guys, I talk about this all the time. That's why Yoga Dog is always prominent. He reminds me to stop and breathe so often. and to really think about what you want to accomplish next. And not what do you want to accomplish ultimately, what do you want to accomplish next? And you have to actually find space to create that mental headspace. So I challenge you to think about, where is it or what are you doing when you have those moments of clarity? For me, it's typically around water. So sitting at the lake, when we go to Minnesota at my husband's family's lake place, I get on the stand-up paddleboard in the morning, and man, is that great open headspace, walking on the beach. Now, right now I'm stuck in the middle of a city. I don't have any water. But for me, even watering my garden, that process of working with water is the time when I can often just like leave everything else behind and find some clear headspace. And what that does is the more you do that, the more frequently you do that, the more you open up the opportunity to see things you didn't see before. So for some people, it's running. Some people, it's taking a walk. Some people, it's doing needlepoint. I don't know why anybody would ever have the patience to do needlepoint, but some people do. I don't. Plus, I hate always sticking myself with the needle. But, finding that mental headspace then allows you to think about what's possible, because you can't just sit down and say, okay, I'm going to reinvent myself right now today. So I'm going to do X, Y, Z. You have to know what it needs to look like first. So once you have found that place and you've tapped into it, so now you're finding the creativity. What do you need to do next? Well, my advice is always, as you guys know, journal. Take some time to actually write it down. So as I start my new journal, I'm always excited about so many more opportunities, things. It's like filling this gap of opportunity. But write down everything you want to accomplish, just no matter how crazy it is. Now, this is the time to think about all those things that you want to accomplish, because that will help you decide what part of your reinvention will help you get to the next most important thing for you. And, just to take a step back, when I talk about, what happened with my business, that first step was panic. What am I going to do? I can't go speak anywhere. I can't go live right now, and I don't know when. So when I got that headspace, the first thing I asked myself was, well, what's important to you? What do you want to accomplish? And I knew the answer was I wanted to continue to reach people and give them motivation that they could do anything with their careers. Anything you want to accomplish, you can do. And you can be a great leader, and you can be a great salesperson. You can be, amazing business owner. And that's what I knew was most important. So then from that point, I could say, as I journaled down, well, then what ways do I reach them if I can't reach them this way? And I had thought about doing the app for a long time, but I was so busy traveling on airplanes, I never did it. I never got it to where it needed to be. And I never could see it for all that it could be accomplished. And so as I wrote in my notebook, all these new ideas came out that I had no idea I could even pursue. And that's exciting. So as we go into the third component of this, it is then once you know what you want to accomplish, you have an idea of what it takes to get you there. Now you actually have to create the plan. You have to create the plan and work the plan. And then you have to adapt the plan. Right now, we are adapting and changing and trying things all throughout my company, like crazy new stuff. And none of it has to be perfect. We just have to see what works, what makes sense, what do people respond to. And case in point, I was doing a Monday motivation, a little, 5 to 7 minute video message for each Monday saying what was my theme for the week. I just intended to keep it that way. That was just the first way I thought of it, until all of a sudden we had so many people saying, gosh, I need this every day. So we changed. We're continuing to change. We're continuing to reinvent. And that's the flexibility that comes from that mental headspace, is understanding all the things that you want to do, you can do, but you have to know what it is. You have to journal it and decide what's most, it's the highest priority. And then you have to actually start doing it. And you can't worry about whether it's going to work 100%. And you can't worry about whether you're going to be perfect at it. I'm doing these live broadcasts. I just spit. Who cares? It's a part of now how I am expanding our message. So I hope this gives any motivation. And if anyone, by the way, as we do these live broadcasts, if anybody ever wants to pop in a question or a, comment or whatever, just pop it in and I'll try and take it as it comes. And I'm hoping to get more of that. I haven't had too much of that lately. So we're just going to keep going because people do seem to like the message, but I really want to get this to the point that it's interactive. So always feel free to jump in with comments. So my final thing is, I have something really exciting. I'm not telling you exactly what it is yet. I think maybe I'll tell you next Friday. Actually, I'm pretty sure I'm going to tell you next Friday. But if you really want to reinvent yourself, or you just want to achieve something really new to shock your own potential, I really encourage you to not only listen next week, but if you feel so inclined, send us an email at info@shockyourpotential.com and just say, I want to know what's coming. And you will be the first one before we even do this live broadcast to know what we're doing. So I've got something so very exciting that I know you're going to want to be a part of, but not everybody's going to be able to be a part of it. Just a little teaser there. Hey, and if you want to do something that's a really great favor for me today on our Shock Your Potential YouTube channel, I would love to have you come subscribe. We are just about, I think right before I went live today, we were at 298 and we need to get 300 to go to the next algorithms on our way to 500, and goodness knows where we're going. So if you'd like to, I'd love it if you would subscribe. Now, of course, always subscribe, rate, and like us because that's always good too. I love 5 stars. Just saying. So that's our message for the week, you guys. In the U.S., we have what we call Labor Day weekend. So this is a 3-day holiday weekend, and it's usually a time of backyard barbecues and lots of fun things. It's going to be a little different this year, obviously, but it is a time to relax and reflect. And in the U.S., to say a little bit goodbye to summer and to move on to a new adventure in a new season. So as always, follow us on shockyourpotential.com. Please, if you have not downloaded the Shock Your Potential app, please do so. We have a ton of free content there and more coming. And just a little hint that part of what's coming next week in the announcement, it has to do with the app. There's other ways you can access it, but that's where it's going to be most beneficial. So I hope you guys have a great weekend. And as always, shock your own potential.